Hello, this is Philip Merlo at Spot Imaging. Just coming on here to welcome everyone aboard seminar for seeing the PathCast teleconferencing solution that we have. And we're going to probably wait here or hang for a little bit, just so if we have a couple late arrivals, as we see more and more people coming in, they may be just a little bit late from some meetings. In the meantime, I just want to let you all know that if you do have colleagues that can't make the meeting, we're going to be recording the seminar and making available. And that way, if there's something specific that you want to show them or talk to them about, you can always kind of fast pace it through and go to that section alone. As well as another couple other reminders, and we'll bring this up again towards the end of the meeting and as well as the end of the PowerPoint, is that we do have available free trials for the PathCast, because we know that even with the GoToMeeting webinar software, what you see is not going to be as live as what we are able to produce with the connections between PathCast clients, due to the nature of the connections that they make within the network with the X264 compression, as well as the ability to send the data directly from peer-to-peer, so that there's not a server tied up in the middle of that. And so, what we actually want to show you today, make sure that you see, is the overall workflow, talk a little bit about the key features of PathCast, and why it can be well of interest for you. And then for you to see the actual speed and use case, we would look at getting you set up either with a trial or an on-site demo between two computers that we could bring in if you need to. Okay, so we'll get started here. Again, as I said, we're recording the session. So if you need any of your colleagues that missed it, we can get them a copy. As well as a reminder, we can set up a 60-day demo so you can try out the software. And that's how many of our customers have gotten started, and they've built up confidence and basically kept the software after that. So without further ado, we'll get going here. Again, the session is recorded. You'll be sent a link. We'll be muting the audience during the presentations. Please type in your questions into the chat box in the webinar control, and then we will address them during the open question and answer session. And then again, we can set up follow-on meetings to go deeper into any of the particular aspects of the solution or any of our other solutions that you may have questions about. Spot Imaging actually has built out a portfolio of pathology solutions, and our goal is to provide an integrated imaging environment that supports all the different types of imaging that are done around the pathology department. And key to that at the central is the SQL database that we're bringing out, the LIS interface, as well as teleconferencing. And the teleconferencing that we're talking about is PathCast, and PathCast is our solution for teleconferencing at this time. PathCast, the whole goal for it is to make collaboration easy. That means that your interoperative consults, you can talk between your surgical back bench to the frozen grossing room or the frozen microscopy. And the frozen grossing and microscopy can also quickly connect into subspecialty consults, so that if there's a case that you want some advice on, you can do that very quickly. The Rose consults, obviously, allowing the cytologist to stay at their desk, signing out cases, while a procedure may be supported by a cytotech, and then be able to quickly send the images up so that you can basically make a consult on that and capture the reimbursement. The other area that's been highly used is to, as we start growing in hospital networks, the remote hospitals often don't need to have an on-site pathologist. Oftentimes they'd like to set things up so that the remote hospital is actually supported by the main lab. with centralization of pathology, as well as with COVID and social distancing. We have many different groups that are setting up their pathologists so that they can be isolated and safe during the COVID outbreak. And everybody, kind of asks, well, why are you bringing out a teleconferencing module? There's commercially available systems out there. And we had the same thought when we first got started. And we said, we're not going to reinvent the wheel. So we went out and started, going through the bucket of different solutions, and found that there were multiple issues that we ran into that either completely prevented the use of the package or made it just very difficult to use. First off, one of them was the complexity of starting a consult connection, and so we find a lot of different institutions and labs basically are given the house teleconferencing package, which requires them to basically set up an appointment or go through some logins and various other things in order to connect to another person. These actually slow down things, especially if you're doing time-sensitive consults. You don't want to have to go through all that extra work. Secondly, they found out very quickly that the image quality was either variable or just completely poor due to the amount of compression that the standard off-the-shelf teleconferencing packages use. And oftentimes they'd be looking at the image, and you could see that parts of the images are kind of wiggling and doing weird things due to the compression. Or the other thing that we've seen is that they have very, very slow frame rates. And when you're running a live camera on a microscope, there's a lot of data. You need something that can handle that, the bandwidth of all that data. Other systems have no audio, or they have very poor audio, and problems with just how clean the audio sound is. And many of them have really, cranked down so they can get, the best throughput and just barely audible conversations. So that makes, basically having a consult quite challenging. Finally, insecure architectures. We've run across that multiple times, namely TeamViewer, because actually TeamViewer had done some of the other things properly, but the way it's distributed and freely passed around, as well as the way their licensing system is, IT departments have basically blocked that package on their systems, and it can't be used. So at that point, we had actually done several installations, and came to the conclusion that the clinical market and the clinical applications are different than what the broad market needed. So we set out and built PathCast. First off, we were goaling for an easy setup. So again, to make sure that you're comfortable with it, there's a free 30 to 60 day trial period. Then you basically install the PathCast Contact Manager service on a server with a fixed IP address. And what that actually does is it just manages all the contacts for the system. Then what you do is you install the PathCast client on each of the users' workstations that are going to communicate to each other. You enter the IP address of the PathCast Contact Manager that you got off that server. And then you put your own name in so you can identify yourself and set your status. And then you hit the start meeting button and you're up and running. And it's so simple and elegant to use. It takes probably less than 5 minutes to really understand how to use it. There's not a lot to learn there. So the other thing is PathCast is easy to start a consult. Basically, you're provided with a contact list. So whatever everybody else puts in as their name, as well as their specialty or their department, you can see them in the list. So all you have to do is really click on their name, hit the invite to a meeting button down at the bottom. Your colleague gets both an audio and a video notification of the request. They hit accept, and then the meeting starts with video, audio, and the remote cursor and keyboard all enabled. If you don't want them automatically enabled, those are settings you can control. So that's the other thing, is that you don't do these meetings where you join and you forget to turn on your audio, or someone's got to give you cursor control, etc. It's already set up. So in the end, really what happens is PathCast is really elegantly simple to use. There's no logins or no settings of appointments. You just select, invite, connect, and you're up and running. PathCast also, we focused in on providing a clear communication channel. We provide a fixed high-resolution video with no compression artifacts. We basically studied it and set our settings there so that you have a nice clean video presentation. We believe this is key for getting your CLIA certification in reality. There is quite a bit of question about the amount of compression that's going on and the variability of the compression for video transmissions. And if it's either annoying or something that actually can impact your diagnosis. We build off of the latest, what's called X264 video compression, and we control and fix the compression amount so that you don't see it. Secondly, we provide a voice over IP audio channel. So as soon as you connect, you're talking through, if you have a headset or if you have a desk speaker microphone, you're using that. The bandwidth of our channel provides you with great FM quality type of sound, and we build in what's called half duplex echo suppression so that you don't get feedback between your in-room to the other room. Also provided is a remote cursor and keyboard controls so that the remote person who's observing the other person's screen can actually point on things, talk about stuff. They can click buttons on your application interface. And for example, within our interfaces, that allows the remote person to do measurements, to snap an image, to actually put annotations on it so that you can have a very full interactive console. Lastly, PathCast is a secure architecture designed that way from the ground up, as well as marketed that way from the ground up. First off, we only sell to hospital and lab institutions. So it's proprietary. We've built it. We built the whole engine here. There's no access for nefarious actors. So we're not like these other packages that are basically giving out free copies and having everybody and their brother sign up. Additionally, all clients are registered by the hospital IT department as well as by Spot Imaging. So again, these are not freely available to anyone. PathCast also operates within the organizational firewall. So we don't have tentacles hanging out there to be attacked by somebody from outside your hospital network. We also allow offsite personnel to connect via secure, registered, and encrypted VPN channels. And this is stuff that your IT department actually is in control of. And it ensures that you have a nice, strong link that they probably use for their other contacts into the hospital network. It's a known quantity and it's very safe. Another thing is that all client information and data are kept within the hospital IT network. None of it's exposed to the outside world. And then finally, because of the controlled resolution as well as controlled over the revisions we let out, we don't just willy-nilly put out new revisions that would break your CLIA certification. So that's another safety valve there, so that you don't have to worry about one day all of a sudden you come in and things have totally changed on you. The architecture is such that, again, on the server is installed the PathCast contact manager, and it manages all the different contacts and clients. And down on each client station or each workstation, you put a PathCast client for those that want to talk to each other. And up over on the right upper area, you can see the VPN connection and an outside network user set up to be able to talk in. So let's talk about the data workflow. What happens is what the server is actually doing is it's just sitting there and listening to the network for any new client that's coming on or a client that's going off. So it gets a message. when a client joins the network and the client actually signs into the contact server and provides its network IP address. And that's because the network is actually dynamically signing IP addresses out, and so no one has, quote unquote, a fixed IP address. So it signs in, provides the contact information as well as the IP address to the server. The server then feeds back to all the clients that are on that contact list. And then when any client wants to start a meeting with another client and they select that client's name, they send a message directly to that client. And when the meeting starts up, all the data goes peer-to-peer from that client to the other client. And that means that you minimize network traffic as well as you maximize all the data communication and frame rates and voice over IP messaging. So it's a very clean, elegant, and efficient system for doing this. And so in the end, what we really are looking to do is allow PathCast to provide remote operation of all of our other PathSuite integrated pathology solutions. It streamlines workflows, it provides support to the central image archives, it's secure telepathology, and this is all built out in a modular implementation so that as you add solutions, they're all continuously supported by all the other Spot PathSuite applications. To do project planning, we'll get with you, review, basically your application, your infrastructure, work with you on any computer specifications for your IT department to supply, fill out the IT security reviews for you. We'll work with you to make sure your system's configured, provide you a quote. Once you approve it and provide us with a purchase order, we'll do a confirmation of your order. We'll do a pre-install planning, make sure everybody's on the same page so that when we do the install, either on-site or virtual with this product actually, everybody's ready to go. And then once everything's installed, we'll go over the system configuration with your team and then do training with them so that they're up and running. This is a software as a service type of product. That means it's a subscription. And by being a subscription, what we are able to do is lower our initial costs when you purchase it. And then we just get a fee each year. What that does is it allows us to ensure that you have ongoing technical support for your IT administrators and users. It also means that you get all the updates for free that address bugs, as well as any new interface conflicts with other programs. We've seen that in the past. And as well as it gives you all the upgrades as we provide new features, as well as operating system update compatibility. So if you go to Windows 12, let's say in the near future, or 11, whatever it's going to be, you would automatically be supported and you wouldn't have to go back for a big budget purchase. So that's the other thing is, Spot is becoming the standard for the industry. We're providing solutions all across the United States, into Canada, and now into Europe. And notably, we're at most of the reputable and large institutions. We are professional imaging specialists. Our goal is to save you time, money, and space by streamlining your pathology workflows. We fit your infrastructure because we don't expect you to change out your microscope hoods or your LIS and EMR system. We actually built the system so that it can be configured and have incremental adoption so that you can buy each of the different systems and they all link together and talk to each other. We've been around for a while. We have solid experience and we're 53 years old this year. And then finally, you need support all the time. So we have the Spot tech team as well as a maintenance network that we've set up. What we're going to switch over to is a live demo. And in that, what we have is both the grossing system and a microscopy system set up here. And what we're going to do is actually talk from one to the other And when we do that, what we're going to do is first we're going to start off with the microscope system requesting a meeting from the grossing system so that you can see how that starts up and see the controls from the host side. And then what we'll do is switch around, and Patricia Fergal will actually start a meeting from the grossing side and invite me. And then you can see the controls from my side as a remote user. And again, one of the things we just want to note here is that for the actual image quality and frame rates, they may not be perfect just because of, well, they're generally not as good as what you would see in the live if it's on with your own computers within your own network. And we can set up that at a later date. But what we wanted to show you was the general workflow and how this all works. Okay. Oh, and I guess it's actually Robert's going to be on the grossing system. Trisha's running the webinar. So that said, what I'm going to do is get out of my presentation. I have actually Spot software running over here in the background, and I come up here, and here's the PathCast contact. And to show you how fast it is, I just go select a name, invite to a meeting. Robert got it, and we're already connected. And I will have Robert go ahead. Well, let me do one thing, Robert.
So Robert can take control?
Yeah, Robert, can you move the cursor, right click, and then drop down and say measure? And I'm on the 20x. So go up to the top there and select the 20x out of the drop down. And then you can drag that out distance on the screen. And then, you can, basically zoom in and zoom out. Okay. Delete them and close. So pretty much you can see that Robert was able to use and be able to navigate my screen even as a remote user. He can go in and we have a digital zoom on this is the 12 megapixel Insight camera. You can grab it, move around on the image, and ask me to go up to a different magnification. I'll move up to the different magnification and set the focus. We could go and capture an image. And now we have a captured image. We can then go back to live mode. He can ask me to go down to the 10x. I focused it. We zoom in on some detail. We move around on the screen. So that's, basically he has control. He has the ability to talk to me. He has the ability to point out things in the image. So that's the nice part about that. At the end of the meeting, you can just hit the end meeting button and it will end the meeting. Okay, so now what's going to happen is we're going to have Robert start a meeting. Let me just, so he actually asked me to start the meeting. You get this audio chime, in which you can select whatever type of chime you want. And it gives me this little box here that says, do you want to start a meeting? And I say accept. And I'm in the meeting, and we're working with what's called the grossing system. And so this is a 4K grossing camera that we have running. And what you notice in here are a couple things. Up here, we put actually a title on the top of it to tell you who you're talking to, so you know that you're looking at their screen, as well as we put a box. There's this green box that goes around the edge of the field of view. That's to give you a couple cues that you're actually in a teleconference and using someone else's screen. I'm not sure about you guys, but I've done it where I forgot that I was on someone else's screen and couldn't figure out why I wasn't in control of certain things. So that's a little reminder there. Another thing that you notice is that you see this round circle I have and the cursor in it. And what you'll see is that I'll move the circle and then the cursor will catch up. And the circle is actually allowing me to know where I'm moving my mouse, because there's a slight delay whenever you do telepathology or teleconferencing. And so controlling where the cursor is historically has been problematic. And this basically solves that problem by allowing you to basically set where you're going to be. So in this case, we're in, I could go into a different case, and I'm going to go into a case where there's nothing in it, and I'll come back just to show you. But I'm using my keyboard to type in a case, and here's a case number, and I say OK, and I go into a new case. It clears it out. I now come over here and I say, oh, this looks interesting, but I want to see more detail. So I zoom in on it, and I'm controlling the zoom at this point. And I say, oh, that looks like what I want. I'm going to capture that image. The image is captured, and it's automatically put in my film strip. I open it up, and now I have my tools. And what I'm going to do is say, oh, I want you to section it here, here, and here, let's say. And I want blocks of tissue from this location, and from that location. I want to select and make sure I label things anterior and posterior, and then Robert can say, no, you got that wrong, and he can go click on and delete the posterior and anterior, because he's in control also. So we're sharing the control. And click the anterior. And he says delete. Then he can go get posterior and put posterior up where the anterior was and anterior where the posterior was. So in this way, we're actually able to have an interactive meeting. We can talk about things. If there's something that I want to look at, I can basically go in here and say, well, I want to zoom in, and I want to look at, Abraham Lincoln really close up and see the, the ink smudges and fibers inside the dollar bill. But that was up to me. And so this allows us to basically have a very good consult. Tricia, is there anything else I'm missing?
You already mentioned the cursor.
Yep.
Price.
Went over that.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, we can bang away at other things. There's obviously available information on the settings and stuff like that, but that's, I think, digging a little bit too deep.
We have a question.
Yep. So I think at this point we want to open up to questions.
Right. So Brian asked, can someone use an iPhone or iPad to view, not control, the live feed? Can the live feed be viewed on a web browser for non-Windows clients?
At this time, we do not have that capability. We do have a roadmap for these types of features. One other thing to note at this time with the current release is this is a one-to-one meeting. In release 2, there's several features that we're looking to bring out. One is to make it a one-to-many meeting, as well as there's some other features like what you just requested I'm not sure if those are going to be in the release 2 or if they're going to be in release 3. But it's on the roadmap, and release 2 is actually scheduled for next year, and I don't have an exact date at this time. Okay, so I think that it being pretty straightforward and simple, easy to use application, not a lot of questions. So maybe I just hit a few last things as reminders. Number one, if you think of a question later, please send it to us. Number two is if you would like to have a demo trial or a demo set up at your facility, please take us up on that. It's something we love to do and show you how well it works and get you rolling with it. And again, we'll send out a link to a recording of the meeting so that if there's a colleague that couldn't make it and you'd like to show them, they can look at it at their leisure. As well as, I think everyone registered, we'll be sending out some a little form to pick between a mask or a mouse pad that we have for you. So we'll be logging off, and I wanted to thank you again for joining our seminar. And if you have any questions again on this product or any of our grossing, microscopy, or tracking products, please give us a call. Thank you. Have a good day.